It all rides on this. The Calgary Flames are most likely on their way to a full rebuild, but many out there still think that the Flames have enough solid pieces to make a run at the playoffs this upcoming season. Now, whether that's the right thing to do or not, there are still some big questions that will need to be answered throughout the season if the Flames are to make a run at the postseason. We're going to dive into all of that, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I am Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and it is exciting to think that the Flames could either way have a very, very hopeful future here, but could even make a run this season, and that's exciting. But you want to know something else that's a little bit exciting? One thing that Calgary Flames fans are getting super excited about is the plethora of good young defensive prospects the organization is acquiring in order to be more secure in front of Dustin Wolf. If you want to make the right defensive move and make your browsing more secure, then look no further than NordVPN. You can have your very own MacKenzie Weegar stopping all incoming threats with Threat Protection Pro. You'll become safer online with a single click, and anytime you download a file or click a link, NordVPN will check it for malware to ensure your 100% safety. I know I get annoyed by, Oilers fans, but pop-up ads, and I'm afraid of fraud and scams, but with NordVPN, I no longer have to worry about those things. Well, other than Oilers fans, but we can't get rid of them, so to make us feel better, we can get a discount by using code nordvpn.com/flames. We might go through some dark days during the Conroy rebuild, but you won't have to worry about falling victim to the dark web with NordVPN's dark web monitor. No one wants to be the victim of a data leak or credit scam, so please ensure you'll be fully protected by checking out NordVPN and all they have to offer. Use code FLAMES for a discount. It truly is exciting. Make sure you stay secure. Now let's dive into the real bread and butter of this one and talk about these three big questions the Flames will need to answer on their way to potentially going to the playoffs this season, or, sincerely just continuing on what is probably the best path and going towards a full rebuild. I'm sure a lot of the players who are currently going to be UFAs next season or in a couple years will most likely be traded out, but who knows? There are some ways the Flames could still easily be in there. The Pacific Division isn't exactly the strongest, so there is a chance they could do it, and really, their chances, they all ride on these three big questions. Now, we're going to get into a great article here from NHL.com. All credit for the content in this one to Mr. Derek here, as he wrote this article, 3 questions facing the Calgary Flames. And if we hop into the first one, can Wolf take over as the number 1 goalie? It is the most pressing question within the Sea of Red. It is what Flames fans care about the most. There have been a lot of articles written recently about Dustin Wolf and whether the Flames are kind of setting him up for failure if they play him too much with a bad D-core in front of him. But can he take over as a true number 1 goalie and maybe steal some games for the Flames? I guess we'll have to see, but let's dive in. Dustin Wolf was considered the goalie of the future for Calgary as long as Jacob Markstrom was on the roster. However, with Markstrom traded to the Devils on June 19th, the time has come for Wolf to show he can replicate the success he had in the AHL at the NHL level. So no longer the goalie of the future, he is now the goalie of the present. He was named the best goalie in the AHL in 2022 and 2023 and was the league MVP in 2023. He played 17 games for the Calgary Flames last season and went 7-7-1 with a .316 goals against average and an .893 save percentage. So not the worst stats, not even close to the best stats either, and not number 1 goalie caliber stats. So he will need to make that jump to be the number 1 goalie. Wolf will be competing for playing time with Dan Vladar and Devin Cooley. Vladar, who will turn 27 on August 20th, was Markstrom's backup last season when he went 8-9-2 with a .362 goals against average and an .882 save percentage in 20 games, 19 of those starts. Not great numbers at all. He was injured though. Hopefully he'll be fully healthy by the time next season rolls around. We'll just have to see. The Flames signed Cooley 27 to a 2-year contract on July 1st after he was 2-3-1 with a 498 goals against average and 870 save percentage in 6 games for the Sharks last season. His first in the NHL. He doesn't have that much experience. He really is just a filler kind of goalie. I know he was on a terrible team and that really inflated his stats for the worst, but either way, he will be competing for some starts, I suppose, whether there's injuries or, fatigue, whatever happens. I'm sure Cooley will be between the pipes at some point this upcoming season. I think if I'm a young goalie now, one of these 3 guys, nobody's going to work harder in the summer than these 3. Conroy said. Yes, we always love a good quote from Connie. They all want to think that's my job and that's what we want. We want to bring in that competition. We're not giving it to anybody, but we expect them to come in and someone to take it. And for the Flames to be truly successful, I think most people would assume that means Dustin Wolf really takes the reins here, grabs the number 1 spot. I think most people would like to see a good split between Wolfie and Vladar, with Wolf kind of as the one you rely on a little bit more, maybe for bigger games, doesn't, get the back-to-back. You can give most of those to Vladar, but either way, very, very interesting here. If the Flames are to make a run at the playoffs, Wolf really will have to take the full-on reins. If we get to the next question here, I spoiled it a little bit, but will Huberdeau return to his Florida form? And that is a huge one if the Flames want to make a serious push this season. Forward Jonathan Huberdeau was expected to help make up for the departures of Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau following the 2021-22 season, but it hasn't gone to plan. You do not need to tell us twice. Holy, do we know that? Calgary acquired Huberdeau in the trade that sent Tkachuk to the Florida Panthers on July 22nd, 2022, and the next month signed him to an 8-year contract that began last season. And things, I'm not too sure how they've gone for Tkachuk in Florida. I would assume they've gone pretty well, but either way, the things haven't gone great for Calgary, and that's a big contract. Huberdeau, he had an NHL career high 115 points, 30 goals, and 85 assists in his last season with the Panthers, but has scored fewer points combined in his first 2 seasons with the Flames. Yeah, I really emphasize that it has not gone to plan for Hubie here. Last season, Huberdeau had 52 points, 12 goals, 40 assists in 81 games, and in 2022-23, he had 55 points for 15 goals and 40 assists. Very similar seasons, and both extremely disappointing. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to get back to the level he was at. New kind of Flames forward, Ryan Lomberg told the NHL Network on July 27th, I'm excited to help be a part of that solution. So Lomberg wants to kind of light a fire under Huberdeau again. Lomberg, who signed a 2-year contract with Calgary on July 1st, will be reunited with Huberdeau after winning the Stanley Cup with the Panthers last season. The 29-year-old played with Huberdeau for 4 seasons in Florida, from 2017 to 2019 and then 2020 to 2022. I'm excited to get back with Johnny for sure, Lomberg said. There's no doubt he's one of the best players in the league. His skill is world-class. He's an amazing teammate. I'm probably most excited to get out there and cheer him on again and have ringside seats, well, rinkside, you would assume, of seeing what he's capable of, all the plays he's able to make. And it is true. If the Flames want to be a truly successful team, Huberdeau has to produce some of those points. We don't expect 115, but even if he can just get to a point per game, I would see that as a huge success. I think a lot of people would like to see him go up from the 50s, more to the 60, 70 might be more reasonable, but we'd like to see even more. Either way, very, very interesting here, and that is a big question. Can Huberdeau regain his form and really help the Flames be a much better team that he hasn't quite been able to do so far in his tenure in Cowtown? Now, the last question here, can younger players contribute enough to make the Flames playoff contenders? So this one, like Huberdeau really does need to step up and play like his contract, but the Flames also do have a lot of young guys that could contribute as well. The Flames will be asking a lot from Wolf and forwards Connor Zary, who will be 23 on September 25th. We got Sharangovich, who is 26, Pospisil, who's 24, Kuzmenko, who's 28, and Coronado, who is 21. There are roster spots to be won going into training camp this season, and Calgary is counting on players to step up after recent key departures that included Markstrom, and of course, Lindholm, traded to the Canucks way back on January 31st, and Andrew Mangiapane, traded to the Caps back on June 27th. Calgary signed forwards Anthony Mantha to a 1-year contract on July 1st, and Ryan Lomberg to help to help up front, but are counting on Sharangovich taking another step and hoping Zary, Kuzmenko, Pospisil, and Coronado can continue their development, especially Coronado. When we're talking about roster spots up for grabs, he needs to play well and grab one. He was able to grab one coming out of training camp last season and then just wasn't great to start the NHL season, was never really given quite the perfect opportunity, but it's interesting to see how that plays out this training camp and this upcoming season. You want to bring in players that can help your club right now, but also not block players in the future, Conroy said. Who knows when guys are going to be ready? One thing we always talk about is we don't want to rush them in. We want them to be ready. I think we want to be patient with our young guys, but we also want to give them an opportunity at some point. And it's so true. The young guys should be given an opportunity. It can be great for the future. And who knows, if they really do play the way a lot of people expect them to play, then the Flames, again, they could make a run at the playoffs this season. Would they make a run in the playoffs? I can't imagine that being a reality, but as a Flames fan, you always stay hopeful. I think most fans, I don't want to say it's a 50-50 split, not even close, but I would say most fans would rather have the Flames kind of stink this season and pick high in the upcoming draft, take a really good center that can be really just a cornerstone piece for the Flames of the future. But either way, there's the potential that they could make a run. We need Wolfie to really pop off. We need Huberdeau to produce like he has shown in the past in Florida. And we need our young guys to continue their development and really be the best of the best. Now, let's get into the comment of the day to wrap up this video. And this one has to do with the last video, kind of about a potential blockbuster with the New York Rangers involving Andrei Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko. There's a new one. Either way, I like this comment here from D. Chappelle. They said, if Kuzmenko keeps scoring like he was down the stretch, he might price himself out of Calgary. A deadline trade might not look much better, and they'd likely be retaining. Getting a late first-round pick might not be much more than a third liner in 3 years after being drafted, which Kakko already is. A Kuzmenko trade before the season starts would probably be for a younger NHL roster player and a prospect, so I understand the logic behind the trade. There is logic in dealing Kuzmenko. Of course, he has tons of value, but there's also loads of value in keeping him as a Flame and potentially for the future. Every team needs those just pure goal scorers, and Kuzmenko could end up being that guy for the Flames in the future. We'll just have to see. Really liked this comment here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.